this is the problem. Sometimes part of the harvest just really doesn't make it into the house. There's nothing in the world like that taste. Guten gardening, everybody. It's pretty early in the morning here in the middle of June, and today I'm going to do a little garden harvest for you. I've got some peas right behind me, a couple of different varieties of really delicious peas that I'm going to be harvesting. Got some spinach that's gone to seed, but I still want to get the last of the spinach off there. I got a couple of other things that I want to get harvested. But before I get into this harvest, I do want to comment on one thing. You remember how I talked in some of my earlier videos about how much rain we got in April and in May? And I had this fear that we might hit these really dry stretches. Well, I don't know what's going to happen this summer. I can't predict it, but I do know that we're going to have multiple days of 90+ weather here. It's going to be hot. So I got to take advantage of my time in the garden in the mornings before that massive heat wave hits. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started with some of these peas. All right, I'm harvesting 3 different varieties of these sweet peas today. I've got a golden sweet pea, which is more of the golden color. I've got King Tut purple sweet peas, and I've got sugar and snap peas. And so these 3 varieties, I'm actually going to do a little taste test now and see what I think about the taste of each one. So I actually recently had a community member stop by, and she tried all 3 of these varieties, and her favorite were first the Sugar Ann, then the yellow, then the King Tut purple. And so we'll see if they end up in that same order. Let's go ahead and taste the King Tut purple. I think I mentioned this in a previous video, but I don't just take the peas out of here. I like to eat the whole thing. A really sweet pea inside. The shell, definitely a little tougher actually. Just get the pea out. Oh, the pea though, it's really nice. It almost seems like the purple one's definitely better for the pea inside. Let's try the golden one next. Way more tender. Well, everything's sweeter. Actually, you know what? The pea inside of the purple one is sweeter, but the whole thing overall, more tender, more sweet. All right, last but not least, let's try these Sugar and Snap peas. Well, the peas inside are so much bigger. Oh, everything is, oh, it's so good. Look at the size of the peas inside of here. I mean, they're huge. And they're so sweet. All right, in terms of order, Sugar Ann number 1. I'm gonna go with the golden ones number 2. And in terms of overall taste of the pea inside, this would be first, the King Tut. But because the texture outside is so coarse, it's gonna be third in terms of overall pea. One thing that I love about this though, if you look at it, let's see if I can pull one off and show you what I mean. Look at it in the light here, you can see how full they are. So you can tell which ones are ready to go or not, depending on how you want to eat these. You know, again, if you want them in a salad, you want to eat them fresh, I would say, especially if you like the covering here, the shell, then younger is better. But these are nice producers overall. And one of the reasons why we like growing peas is because we can plant them in April. They're a plant that can handle our cooler weather and the possibility of a frost early on. So these have been in here for a couple of months now. And just like anything else, one of the things that we keep in mind here is that when you grow your own peas, there's a lot more variety than you're probably going to get if you're just going to depend on what you can find at the store. I mean, I don't think I've seen purple peas at the store. Certainly not recently. I don't know if I ever have. Most of the time you're limited to the green peas, which is fine. They're delicious too. You can buy a bag of those, but all right, let's finish up this harvest and I'll show you what I end up getting. That is a nice little harvest there. We're gonna have plenty of these. Now I could, again, husk these or shell these, I guess is a better word for it, and take out the peas and freeze them, or I can just eat them fresh like this. I haven't made my decision on that yet, but let's move on to our radishes. Now, if you didn't already see our video on these red rat tail radishes that I have behind me, the radish that is grown for its seed pod, I'm going to recommend you check out that video. It's a variety of radish. I actually put a link in that video to where you can get a hold of some of these radishes, but this is the variety of radish that our community member Sabby bought for us that have so many. I'd say I have hundreds of these seed pods, these edible seed pods. And of course, with radishes, the seed pods are edible anyway. But these are so delicious. That's the whole purpose of growing this radish, is to get these seed pods. And I just came up with this idea, and I'm going to tell you about it as I'm harvesting. So I've been thinking about this a lot because I have so many of these seed pods, and they are massive. Look, I think this might be the largest one that I've harvested so far. Take a look at that. But I have so many of these. I was thinking, how am I going to use these best? I don't just want to put them in the refrigerator because then they get soft. I want that nice crunch to them. But what do I do as I'm harvesting all these hundreds of seed pods? And it dawned on me that one of my favorite ways to eat radishes is something called gakdugi. Now, if you've never heard of gakdugi, it's a radish kimchi. It's actually a Korean dish, and I've made it before. Normally, it's made with daikon radishes, and so you get cubed up radishes. Actually, I'll put the short on the screen as I'm talking. And we made this before with some of our daikon radishes. It was so good, and I realized that I could essentially ferment these seed pods the same way. So I'm going to make some red rat tail gakdugi. I'm going to make some radishes, some radish kimchi using these red rat tails. And I think it's going to be absolutely delicious. By the way, in that recipe, I did have to note that I forgot to show that I added fish sauce. So just take a look at that recipe and make sure you add the fish sauce. That's an important ingredient. But how awesome is this little harvest here? I've got hundreds more seed pods that I need to gather off of here. Hundreds more. I feel like I'm just getting started. And this is a radish that doesn't mind the heat. What does heat usually do to the radishes? It makes them go to seed. Well, that's the whole point with this variety. So this is gonna last, I'd say, a couple more weeks at least. And we've been getting so many seed pods off of here. So prolific. I'm gonna leave someone here because I do want to collect some of the seeds as well. So I got a couple of cups here. That's what I really need, a couple of cups. I'm gonna harvest some more, just make sure I have enough for the recipe. But a couple of cups of these seed pods will make for some really nice gakdugi. We got a little bonus here. My younger daughter's green stalk has a couple of ripe strawberries in here. Now these are not the biggest strawberries out there, but they're ones that we transplanted from what was growing in ground. So she's got a couple of ripe strawberries. Now, as long as the rabbits didn't get to them, I think I saw some more that you'll see here in a little bit. All right, I think the most labor-intensive part of my harvest today is actually probably going to be this spinach. Our spinach has all gone to seed. There's lots of hot weather coming our way, and so what I need to do is get all the leaves that I can off of here. So this is going to take me a while to walk through and work through all of this, but the nice thing about spinach is I can blanch it just a little bit and then freeze it and save this in the long term. And spinach is something that our family definitely needs, that we definitely consume a lot of, whether it's in smoothies or cooked up or what have you. But I've got a decent amount of spinach still out here. But again, this is the process where I have to make sure I don't waste any of these leaves that are still out here. Actually, you can see the seeds that come in on the spinach if you look really closely right here. You see all those? So you can see just how many hundreds of seeds these plants produce. It truly is in the hundreds. So I've got lots of those leaves, lots of the spinach left to harvest. Now here's our spring garlic, and there are scapes on our spring garlic as well. These don't get as big, the green garlic here. The scapes don't get as big. And a lot of times, we talked about this last season, but the spring garlic or the green garlic here is meant for earlier season harvesting, but we still keep it in here because it creates some nice little cloves. They're not massive, but some nice ones. But I mentioned in our video where I was harvesting garlic scapes the other day that these garlic scapes tend to be ready at slightly different times, and so there are some more that I need to collect off of here. One of the things I didn't mention in the video is that there's supposed to be a correlation with the size of the garlic bulb at the bottom. If you remove these, it's supposed to help improve or increase the size of those garlic bulbs. So that's something we're going to try to do, get the rest of these scapes off of here. They smell so good. I saw that liquid right on the bottom of those. I just saw a recipe from Keen Garlic for some garlic salt, some garlic scape salt that looked really good. I'll put a link to that recipe in the description. Oh, these are so good. Well, I thought none of our raspberries were ready yet, but here we have the golden raspberry. There's a couple more down here that are ready. This is my favorite raspberry. I actually saved a couple. We were able to sell a couple of these raspberry plants because they spread. You can see they're coming over here. This is a thornless raspberry, which I think is awesome. It has 2 harvests to it, so a fall bearing raspberry. And so we get a nice long season. This one's not quite ready, but you can see the size of these. They get pretty nice size. There's nothing in the world like that taste. It is so good, so sweet. There's a reason why this is my favorite. I love our Heritage Red, I love our black, but these golden ones, all day. Well, I didn't intend that to be part of the harvest, but I'll take it. Walking along this little fence line that needs some serious weeding action here. It can be hard to keep up with the weeds. I see what I was talking about earlier. Looks like a couple of, whoop, there's a spider on that one. A couple of strawberries that the rabbits didn't get to yet, which is kind of amazing because these are unprotected here. Oh, and all it took is walking on the other side to see a whole bunch more. This looks so nice. And there's a whole bunch more right there. Okay. I'm gonna enjoy some more strawberries. We'll see if it's delicious. You know, this is the problem. Sometimes part of the harvest just really doesn't make it into the house. That's like sugar. When I was younger, we used to take some of the strawberries from the store and actually dip the outside in a little bit of sugar because I guess they weren't sweet enough. Boy, that'd be a mistake here. So good. We're gonna end our harvest over here by these honeyberries, or as they're called, haskap bushes. And you can't see much from the top, but once I start digging in here, you're gonna see there are a ton of these honeyberries in here. And actually, we've been harvesting off of these for the last couple of weeks, and this is as late in the season as we're gonna go for harvesting these, because you can see they get super big, really nice size. They start to get a little soft, and we don't want them to just fall off. And there are plenty on the ground already. But as I get underneath here and start harvesting these honeyberries, I mean, these are really nice, healthy berries. Some people even consider them to be a superfood. Actually, a couple different varieties here. And they do vary in size based on variety. One of the things I really like about this plant, and I've mentioned this before, they're the earliest ripening berry that we have. So we can actually start harvesting these, you know, before June even hits, which is pretty awesome here in Zone 5, Wisconsin. At least in my opinion, that's pretty awesome. So these are really delicious, and I'm gonna show you how many I ended up getting off of here. From today's harvest alone in here, I think you need to actually see how tall this is. So this is packed full of these honeyberries. A little bit of juice. I tell you, it does stain your fingers. And then this second one here, over halfway full as well. So some really deliciousness here. Some real good deliciousness. The flavor, in my opinion, is a little bit more tart than a blueberry, but when they get to this size, when they get nice and ripe like this as sweet as they get, they're so good. They're perfect to add a little pop to a smoothie. Oh my goodness. Even better to eat fresh, in my opinion. So good. I did transplant 2 little lettuces here that I had from seeds that I started, and I don't actually remember the exact variety, but this has to be one of the most stunning lettuce plants I've seen. So we can take a little bit of this lettuce off as well, but take a look at that color, that beautiful red. I mean, this is like fire. In fact, that might actually be the variety. Well, this is a nice, quick little harvest. We actually ended up with a decent number of scapes here. Lots of peas. Of course, we got our red rat tail radishes and some spinach. I have to go back out. It's going to take me a good bit longer to harvest all the spinach. And then, of course, these beautiful honeyberries. Well, even though it's only about 7 o'clock in the morning, it's already starting to get warm. And honestly, it feels a little bit like a Caribbean kind of morning. It's really humid. The wind is blowing a little bit, and I know it's going to be in the mid-90s today, but I was able to get out here and get a nice little harvest in. I'm so excited for this food. I'm so excited that now we've got some food progressing far enough that I'm actually able to get out here and harvest a little bit. The rain did make it seem like some of the things we wanted to get in the ground, we got in a little bit later. And so I'm actually gonna do a full garden tour, maybe later this week, we'll see. So you can see exactly what's growing and where we're at in the various stages. But I'll tell you this, we've got a lot of food coming your way in the next couple of months. All right, if you enjoyed today's harvest video and found it useful, don't forget to give us a like, leave us a comment, remember to share and subscribe, and most importantly, remember, you're with us, you are good to grow.